All right, we are digging for wisdom for week 7 of the high school football season here in North Texas. Professor Diggs, the Wizard, here with you. It's an exciting week because Duncanville's playing this week. It's always exciting when they actually play a football game during the week, and they're playing this week, so that's always exciting. But every time on this thing, before we get too far into this week, let's talk about some things that happened last week. Dixie, what kind of caught your eye? Because that winning streak over there at Alito's at 131 and in counting, because they got by the way, if you don't listen to this, you're not going to know what's going to happen in these games because Diggs tells you what's going to happen. There's not going to be any points. It's going to be a defensive struggle. That's old Diggsy. He didn't know what he's talking about. And now here we are on Monday, going back to Diggs saying he does know what he's talking about.
15-14, pick six, safety. I mean, that game had it all. Alito's winning streak is now a senior. I love that stat that somebody brought up. 18, it's going to graduate this year because nobody else is going to test them. But I truly feel like if they can, for Alito, on Alito's side, they got to figure out the quarterback situation. Some people say they figured it out with Lincoln.
You even said that. You even said that at Friday Night Recap, and I was thinking, I don't think they figured out anything. I think it was all defensive, but go ahead.
Yeah, but they apparently, some people who listen to the radio broadcast, the coach at the interview is like, nothing's decided yet. So what's going to happen with that quarterback situation, I think, is really going to dictate Alito. But we can ignore that for like 7 weeks because they pretty much have a nice, easy path. Not easy. I mean, there's some really good teams they have to play. They're going to be heavily favorited because they're a really good team, probably for the next 6 or 7 weeks. So we can kind of put them on the side and say, okay, they're going to be winning by 3 or 4 touchdowns. We'll revisit Alito in week 14 or so when business starts to pick up. So they're kind of done. But hey, congratulations to Alito.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, but Denton Ryan the second time, because they're going to figure some things out too. Exactly. And I think they have a wider area to figure out than Alito does. So again, I think Denton Ryan will trade losing in district and winning that playoff game every single week.
We have an interesting 5A Division I though, in Region 1, because we have, well, maybe not even just Region 1. We have 2 teams that are fantastic offensively in Lone Star and Highland Park, but can't really stop anybody defensively. And the other side, we have Alito and Denton Ryan that's unbelievable on defense, but it's a struggle to get points. What happens when those 2 worlds collide?
The thing is, if Alito and Denton Ryan, it feels like offensively it's easier to figure out than defense. If you don't got a defense, it's not going to show up in week 13 or week 14. But it feels like offense can generate and evolve and get a little bit of chemistry, and because the players are there for Denton Ryan and Alito. It's not like they're offensive players or scrubs or anything. I mean, these are quality. They got D1 players on both. I mean, Kadon Finley. I mean, we're talking about stars on the offensive side of the ball. It's just it hasn't clicked yet. Whereas I don't know if Lone Star and Highland Park's defense is going to get better anytime soon. I mean, they might be able to figure out some things or generate a turnover here and there. But I don't think they're just going to wake up and all of a sudden be shutting people out left and right, especially the good teams. So I think that Alito and Denton Ryan have a little bit more room to grow. But, elite offense. I mean, we were looking at that Lone Star and Frisco game, and I remember you making the comment like, man, Frisco's doing some stuff, but they had no chance at any point to shut down Lone Star. It was like Lone Star was going to be able to put up 80 if they wanted to. So if Lone Star offensively is able to do that and generate that against those really elite defenses, I mean, it could be a Frisco Lone Star state championship, at least getting to the state championship. I don't know what's going down on your other show, Ward, and that side of things. But if you are interested in that, I bet you have a podcast that
you do have a podcast. He's in High School Huddle. Pay attention. I got burnt. That's a good point you brought up, because I got burnt by that. What was it, 4 years ago when Jackson Arnold was the senior? That's when I got called the voice. Or I was like, I don't have no clue how anybody's going to stop Geyer's offense, so I'm going to always pick Geyer. Well, DeSoto figured it out because they were a decent defensive team, and they shut them down. And then once that starts happening, all heck breaks. You start freaking out when your offense is not going to get you the 45 to 50 points. Then you start really worrying because you're like, okay, you get a little frantic. You got to make a play. You got to get a turnover. We got to have a shorter field. Who knows if that's going to happen against the Ryan and the legal team?
And you mentioned Denton Geyer, and another thing I was shocked by was that Denton Geyer and
Yeah,
Coppell game, because not only, I mean, I've been kind of preaching the gospel of Coppell, and Denton, and you've been preaching the gospel of Denton Geyer, so
right.
Wizzy's getting a win on me. But what was shocking about that was not necessarily the fact that Denton Geyer won the game, even though I thought Coppell was going to win the game. It is how brutally they beat him up in the lines. I
Mm,
mean, it's just what you kind of said about DeSoto and Geyer kind of reminded me of that. Is that Geyer just dominated like they did? Your guy Cobbs 37 runs, 170
yeah,
yards in that game. Just they did what they wanted to against Coppell, and that was what was shocking to me. Was if it was a shootout or something, okay, Geyer gets a win. That stuff happens, but it was a no brainer. They just dominated him from 1 to 48 minutes and just said we're better than you, and we're just going to impose our will on you, and just nonstop. I was shocked not only at the outcome, but how that outcome was achieved with Denton Geyer. That travels well. And, we're kind of talking about games we penciled in Alito and Denton Ryan being the round two. It looks like Geyer and South Lake Carroll is just kind of inevitable as well. It's just a game that is just going to have to happen. And if Geyer can put that kind of intensity on South Lake, because South Lake has a good defense, I wouldn't say they have an elite defense. That could constrict the game, make it 4 or 5 possession game.
yeah,
And Geyer, if you play perfect, I mean, like they kind of did against Coppell. I
yeah.
mean, there are some things that they can improve with not with turnovers, but with penalties. But that is the kind of thing that could really fluster a South Lake Carroll squad.
If Cobbs gets 35 to 40 carries against South Lake Carroll, then that gives them an excellent chance to win, just like you're saying, because that's a game that's all of a sudden now in the mid 20s instead of a shootout in the 40s where they're not going to be able to keep up, and they don't have to put in a somewhat inexperienced quarterback in Zephyr out there. They can just pound away. So yeah, that's an excellent point. But they're going to have to do that. Can they do it? Well, that's for another podcast, right, buddy boy? For this podcast, we're talking flowers. Who gets them? Who needs them? Where am I going to buy flowers for?
Well, I want to start out and talk a little bit about a team we don't talk much about. In my heart, the old District 43A report. Uh, for those who kind of to reset, I used to do a podcast called the District 43A report. It was really featuring Brock and Whitesboro and Pilot Point, and the rest of the teams. You had Peaster, you had Bowie, Boyd, and Ponder. That was also part of that, but it was really heavy on Brock, Pilot Point, and Whitesboro. And through that podcast, I got to watch Paradise grow up, because it was like they lost to Whitesboro, and then all of a sudden they became Whitesboro, and it was just Brock that stopped them. And then once Brock elevated to 4A, all of a sudden they're like, okay, now we are that team, and they got to the state semifinals, and we're expecting a lot of things out of Paradise. But in that bottom half, it was Ponder and Peaster really
Yeah,
growing up, and now Peaster, watching them, they're now 6-0. They're playing really good football right now, and even though they didn't do anything special, just watching them develop as a state powerhouse from obscurity. This was a team that wasn't even playing football, 15, 20 years ago. It's part of that Brock and those basketball only schools that are stepping up. So Peaster, I just wanted to take a little bit of time to give some small school love, give them a little bit of flowers. Like those
absolutely.
Peaster
I like
Greyhounds.
that. It's where my old buddy Danny Henderson cut his teeth down there, running them Peaster boys to state titles in basketball, and now they're doing it in football as well. Any other flowers to give out? Because I'd
And
like to hear it.
this kind of gets back into that whole Waxahachie, Duncanville element. Is that it's like you blink and everything can change. You're Waxahachie, you're living high on the hog. You just beat Duncanville, then all of a sudden DeSoto comes in and just completely wipes that out. I know Waxahachie is going to be cheering for Duncanville this week because that could potentially get it to a 3-way tie. I don't think they're going to win any 3-way ties, since they only beat Duncanville by 1 and got completely obliterated by DeSoto. But still, because of the way tiebreakers work, that could create a situation where Waxahachie, is back over Duncanville, and Duncanville is going to be battling for DeSoto for that very reason. And this week we saw the same exact scenario in 5A with Joshua. We're like, okay, Joshua got their big win. We played the video last week. They were just ecstatic and we can't believe it. We beat Midlothian. It was a walk off. And then all of a sudden, in just an absolute a game that was bereft of points and high leverage things. You had Tyler, who dropped that game to Highland Park last week in just an absolute heartbreaker, gave up the big lead in the fourth quarter. And now Joshua at home, after that big momentum, it's gone because
Right.
Tyler High wins a 17-16 game. They're 2-4. We got them ranked. They're looking good. They're looking okay. Number 2 in the district. We beat Joshua. Joshua beat Midlothian. And now Tyler High is now focusing on that same thing because they're one bad loss away from it being ruined. So
Right.
Flowers for this week anyway, because we can take them away just as quickly as we can give them. But
Snatch 'em
Tyler
right out of
High,
your-
I know you are just angry inside, Ward, that I'm spending all of this valuable real
a lot
estate
of time on some
talking
of these
about
Texans.
team that you don't even think is worthy of mention on a DFW Digging for Wisdom show. But because it is DFW Digging for Wisdom and not necessarily some metropolitan area, we'll talk about Tyler High and we'll give them some flowers.
We'll give him some flowers. And I know there's one more a person you want to give flowers to, running back over to Lido. I'm going to let you talk over this play because the man was a pinball machine out there. So let's take a look at this play real quick. Look at the way he just pinball machine over there at Lido. Tell me about this guy. One more shot at it.
Let's see it one more time. 1, 2, 3.
3.
Stays up and he gets into the end zone. Brady Powell gave his team what he needed at the moment. And that's kind of the Alito intangible that, when you've got players who are not necessarily getting D1 offers and things like that, Alito has a cadre of players, 6 to 10 players who just, they will not give up on their team. They will fight. It can be 14-2, which it was at that time, and they're not giving up. And that is the fight that Alito Bearcat, the culture of that fight. I mean, you just look, when you look at this, it is just an absolutely incredible play that vaulted them into the next level of the game, made it a 1-score game, gave them the confidence, and you can just tell it rallied the players. Like, this is a kid who will put it all on the line for Alito. He did.
It gives them the effort plays. That's all you ask for when you're down 14. You give them a little bit of effort, and that'll turn you around.
Brady Powell.
Here's
some flowers for you.
Flowers.
And people in Alito know I don't give flowers to people in Alito.
No, that's not.
I do not. But Brady Powell.
You got him.
Your team doesn't get them. Your team is just good. But Brady Powell specifically,
your team is
we'll
just good. 131 district games. You're just good. All right. There's a flip side of this. Shovel time. Who's getting a shovel this week? And I know you're going to attack my area again. You threw it at Flower Mound last week. What's happening this week? Who gets it now?
Well, we got to broaden things out a little bit with the shovels because we've been giving flowers to LD Bell for 3 straight weeks and Byron Nelson. So it seems like something's got to happen in 4-6A every single week. And with all of these flowers that we've given, well, there's a pretty big hole there, and there's a hole that needs to be filled. So I just think we're going to take all of Keller ISD, just the whole the whole district.
ISD?
Football, I'm sure volleyball and other
shovels.
things are fine, but in football anyway, whole ISD, they're done.
It's a lot of shovels, man. I'm gonna be staying at Lowe's for a long time. I gotta get the company card out.
And we're not even talking 6A as well. I mean, we'll put it down to 5. They got a Fossil Ridge team over there. They're included. It's a buy one get one free sale on shovels. We'll buy one get 3 free. Keller Central, Keller Timber Creek, Keller High, no blue lights, Keller Fossil Ridge, all of it.
They're all getting shoveled up.
All shoveled up.
Unbelievable. All right, anybody else? I'm sure that's it. You're not going to mess with any Flower Mound teams, are you?
Well, by the way, do you think now that Plano East deserves a shovel? Just a question. It's a conversation that we're having.
They will eventually. We just got to buy it.
Eventually.
Eventually, they'll get shoveled up.
Not this week. I know you were excited about it, but resilience for the Panthers.
All right, they got to win over Boyd.
Very
proud of you.
I want to know, because you've been closer to things. What is happening to Flower Mound Marcus in the fourth quarter? Why are they allergic to the fourth quarter? For 3 quarters, they are looking like a top 10 team in the area, and then the fourth quarter, it's like
every time I drive
for 36 minutes.
I was say, every time I drive by the school, they're out there playing. It's early in the morning and in the afternoon. They're conditioning. I don't know what kind of condition drills. So they must not be doing that Tybo, whatever that Billy Blank stuff is, because it ain't working out in the fourth. It all comes crumbling down.
29 points to Hebron, and they got to get a 2-point conversion in there. How do you up by 3? It was 35-14, Ward.
Mm.
35-14. They were just living high. And I know you picked Marcus in that
I
game, so
did.
you're feeling great. Like, that's 35-4. I don't even need to check in on this game anymore. Then all of a
That's a
sudden,
victory.
49-35. This is like the second straight week they've blown a 3-score lead in the second half.
And now because of it, they get
a shovel.
and they're done.
They're done.
Unbelievable.
Talk about buffers. I mean, to be fair to Marcus, if Capel keeps dropping the way they are, maybe they can, knock Capel out of there because just no fight in the offensive and defensive lines for. And again, that's because Denton Geyer is, you've been talking. What Zane Rowe is that the player who plays both ways, who just will bully you in the lines. I think Kenny did a next level on.
He did.
Yeah, I mean, he did. I loved one of the clips on that was like just him punking somebody out after the play or something. Like, I'm gonna beat him up or something.
Exactly.
That's the fight. That's the fight you need to be, that kind of an edge player that I'm just going to get there either side of the ball, whatever. And that is the fight that just completely dominated Capel in that game. So I have a hard time thinking Marcus unless they figure out how to play for that 37th to the 48th minute, because right now the first 3 quarters of Marcus looks like, a top 5 team in the area. But that last quarter, I don't know if that last quarter is going to beat Braswell or Little Elm.
So I was going to say, if we're staying in 5-6A, are we saying now it's between Geyer and Louisville? Or are we throwing Hebron in the mix as well?
Now I think Hebron is a couple of Capel already beat Hebron by 2 scores, right. So I mean we kind of have that buffering with that we can see that top rung is about 2 scores better than Hebron, which is now at least in the fourth quarter a little bit better than Flower Mound Marcus. But Hebron is certainly a team that can. Hebron Louisville, for instance, if Louisville doesn't give us a full 48 minutes, if they give us the Flower Mound Marcus treatment, anything can happen. But I think Louisville, when
they usually do the other side,
and surely they're going to get healthy at some point. I mean,
exactly.
So
they usually do the opposite and come alive in the fourth quarter.
Right.
All right, let's get to some games here, buddy boy. How about some Thursday night action? Bowie against Martin. Arlington's playing a lot of Thursday this week. A lot of Thursday.
I think it's like a fair day or something where they're just kind of taking. I think that's why a lot of Thursday games are. And I just want to kind of give you a little bit of an infomercial. If you are a fan of Texas DFW area high school football, if you're a fan of Texas high school football, you should only really be focused on DFW area because this is where champions rise. And I was telling Ward, like, this is a time where you could have just done your whole show on Thursday. Like, you could just take Thursday, package it, and you would have a Emmy award-winning show. Put a feature on there because we've got game after game on Thursday. So you might want to keep an eye on social media this Thursday because there are district championships on the line, full districts playing, and Arlington ISD 86A is part of that mix. And it kind of gives them. I'm going to go on a little bit of a rant, Ward. I'm going to talk a little bit about the NFL thing, but I feel like. If we're going to have the NFL having all of the games that we have these Thursday games, we have Christmas games, we have Thanksgiving games. I think they should always take the bye week and kind of give you the Thursday game as part of your bye week to where you've got 10 days and then 11 days. And what Arlington ISD is kind of doing is kind of like that because they had the bye week last week and now they put the whole district on Thursday. So everybody gets, a little bit of extra time to get ready for that next game. I like that. And I think the NFL should do something like that just to kind of break it up to where you take that rest that they get in that week and you shorten a little bit, but then you kind of elongate
ease them back into it. Ease them back in. I like it. Let's get you on the phone with Goodell. Get you on the phone with Goodell or whatever.
And maybe our Eric White, I think is the AD over Arlington ISD. He can make that happen over there. But like you said, they got enough Thursday games. But Bowie and Martin has shown me they can't stop a cold right now. And Bowie just offensively, their guys are playing at a high level. I had a really hard time ranking this week. I was like Arlington Bowie or Wiley East was my decision point for my number 25 team, which I actually put a lot of thought into. But I gave Wiley East because Arlington Bowie lost to Keller, and we saw the Keller and everybody in 4-6A who deserves it. Everybody's got a resume to get in there. So did not have to make the decision of which 4-6A team gets that last spot. I just punted, Ward, and I just said, okay, Wiley East, they're 5-0. Nobody's going to complain about that. But Arlington Bowie, now that district has started, I just think it's a different ball game. And I think Arlington Bowie is going to be able to get their 60 points. And I think if you get to 60 in this district, like you said, you're safe.
Yeah.
And you get to that 60 point, Arlington Bowie's got the tools to do it.
So speed limit there is 55. You go over 55, you're in a good shot to win. Just don't go too far over. They'll pull you over. All right, Seguin's playing at Gillespie Stadium against Argyle, and Argyle. There's a little collaboration game there because they both played Timberview. Argyle pulled it out. Seguin did not. So we're going Argyle in this one, correct?
Yeah, I mean, we saw that with Lovejoy and Melissa. I think calibration is very critical in these things. You can kind of tell, okay, that's pretty much the case. But Arlington Seguin is interesting that they seem to play everybody abnormally close. So can they
Yeah.
stay within one score of Argyle? And will that kind of give us optimism? I think they're the playoff team right now. I think they're the fourth playoff team. But we're starting to look at it, Ward. I know you've got Week 12 on your mind. You've
I
got
do.
your run sheet, and you're like, what is Week 12 going to look like when
Who's
we're doing
playing who?
playoffs? I think it's going to be 3-5A and 4-5A heavy. Can Arlington Seguin compete with whoever gets out of 4-5A? Because I think Melissa can make a case right now. I think that even Prosper Walnut Grove, and if Anna can beat Walnut Grove beats Melissa,
Ooh.
maybe we got a three-way tie. Maybe Anna gets back in there. So can Arlington Seguin, as what I think will be the 4 seed, compete in that kind of a game? This is what's going to tell us. I don't think they're going to beat Argyle, but can they be competitive, or is Argyle just going to completely get out on them and win this game by 4 or 5 scores? Because they have the last couple of weeks with Argyle. Argyle looks like they're getting into that next
They
gear.
are.
So can Arlington Seguin show me that they can keep a game competitive against Argyle, another Thursday night game, or is it a situation where you're good against the middle tier, but when you get up against the elite, it goes away from them? I think they're going to actually keep it closer. I think they're going to give us a little bit of optimism that Seguin and Walnut Grove game, or whoever they may play, may be better. Because last year, that Walnut Grove Seguin game was a fantastic game.
I was going to just ask you that. Is that who they play? Because I couldn't remember. They played Walnut Grove last year.
So I got Argyle about 2 scores, but I think that will let me know that Argyle, if that is it, I think that lets us know that Arlington Seguin can play with the big boys in by district.
Staying there. Okay, interesting. All right, how about a little South Dallas action here? Kimball against Lincoln. We used to call him Stinking Lincoln back in the day when they had my man LeBron Nash in the basketball, only because he was dunking on everybody and leaving the stink face on them. But talk to me about this one in football.
How about Byron Eaton getting back into
the
glory days of Lincoln football? And all of a sudden, Lincoln is sitting undefeated. They're a team that we don't talk about. The morning news has them ranked. I don't have them ranked in my 4A Division I, but that's because we've got some really good teams in 4A Division I. And we don't even rank Stephenville, who might be the best of the bunch, who probably should have got some flowers this week. I'm retroactively thinking about that. Oh, that's pretty good, because they beat Ruston this past week by 2 scores, and Ruston just beat Longview. So, I mean, You look at that, Stephenville, you do a little bit of calibration there. Stephenville's like, we can beat Longview. And remember that Longview game, Longview lost to South Oak Cliff earlier. So by less than Stephenville beat Ruston, that beat Longview. So all of that to be said to get back to the South Dallas Super Bowl kind of a game in Kimball and Lincoln. 4A Division I has got some really good teams. But we look at the District 7, we got 7-4A, which we kind of joke about. We got Panther Creek and Sulphur Springs and Salina. They got to play 8-4A, who is now Kimball, Carter, and Lincoln in the first round. So that's a bad draw. So these games matter, because if you get Panther Creek or Salina in the first round versus maybe getting Sulphur Springs, which is not much better, but that number 1 spot has a winnable game against Paris, Lake Dallas, or Aubrey, depending on who gets out of District 7-4A. It's pivotal. But Lincoln hasn't played a strong district schedule, but they've been winning with style points. I got to stick with Kimball in this game, just because Kimball has been beating up Lincoln for the last few years. To get to that next level, I wanted to see them schedule a non-district slate that I could be like, okay, this is a team that knows they're going to be better in the next couple of years, so they're leveling up like Kimball has. Kimball played Timberview and a couple other teams that were just like, okay, that lets you know that Kimball feels like they're looking like they understand that they want to be better and be challenged regionally. Lincoln doesn't feel like that, so I think that might be their coaches telling us something. But at the same time, Lincoln may not know how. They don't know how to lose right now, so they might just be playing above their pay grade. So I see a mechanism for Lincoln to win. I just I trust Kimball.
That looks like a 7:15 start. Kimmel's also played Midlothian in the
Yeah.
non-district along with Timberview, which are both quality 5A squads they're playing against. This one's on Thursday. Denton's given up CH Collins to another Dentonized team on Friday night. So Thursday, y'all get a little treat here. You get to see Hebron and Geyer play.
I thought this was going to be my game that I was kind of penciling in because you liked me to pencil in.
Yeah,
I wish y'all could
well
see
in
Ward and
advance.
I's our private text messages because he wants me to know where I'm going in 3
Hmm.
weeks. He wants it all planned out, and it's a week to week thing because this is what I would have answered going into this week. But the way Denton Geyer beat up Coppell and the way Coppell beat Hebron, it's kind of that Anna Lovejoy Melissa thing where we kind of see what's going to happen now in this game, and I think it's going to be Denton Geyer winning this game by probably 4 or 5 scores because I don't think Hebron is going. Hebron for the first half of that game couldn't play physical against Marcus, and
No.
Marcus is known for having a pretty good defensive line and a pretty big offensive line, and Hebron just struggled with that. Denton Geyer's not going to let up. I think this has gone from an interesting game to Denton Ryan may have to get into, or Denton Geyer may have to get into some score management in the second half. Is I don't think Hebron is going to be able to match those body blows that Denton Geyer is going to have. It's going to be a hurt side, Ward, because Hebron is just not going to know how to handle those body blows. Give me Geyer big by
Nobody's
4
going behind
scores.
the tool shed, huh? Unless it's Hebron guys. That's tough. Who's bringing the wood? All right. We got North Crowley in, we got Lake Ridge in, we got other playoff spots. We got to figure it out, and this game's going to help us figure it out in 3-6-8.
Yeah, Boswell beating Crowley. Crowley, I don't like to
I don't understand
I
that.
don't like to second guess coaches a lot, and I get there's momentum, and you know your team better. But man, this game is in overtime. Boswell scores. It's 28-21. Crowley goes down and scores to make it 28-27. You get the ball next, and you get to go for
Yeah,
you get to go first, so you get to go for your 6 and then your 2 pointer. And Crowley just decides to go for it. They miss it. They basically gave it up. I don't like that. The way this new overtime is set up, I think you got to keep the game going and allow your defense to make a play. So I don't like that Crowley did that, and I think it's kind of knocked them out of the playoff picture at this point. I mean, they're going to have to win a couple that they weren't expected because now they got to go over Boswell and Mansfield Legacy at the same time. I thought they were kind of penciled into a playoff spot, but playing Weatherford 52-49, something is just a little bit no defense there. So what is going to happen in this game? I'm going to stick with Mansfield Legacy. I think that Legacy with the running game and the fact that they're going to be able to slow the game down. I don't think Boswell is going to be able to go body blow for body blow. I don't think what Saginaw was able to do to slow down Crowley is going to work against Legacy. But man, Boswell is one of those teams where I feel like I'm going to keep picking against them. I'm going to keep picking against them, and every week I'm going to be wondering what happened, Ward? Why am I wrong again? Because Boswell is a team that's got a lot of tradition, a lot of culture there that's built in. Even though Eagle Mountain ISD is a growing district, it's like it's Boswell. It's kind of like
right,
Katy and their ISD. There's like 11 teams over there. I couldn't even name all the Katy teams, but it's Katy.
right.
It's like Katy is the star, and for Eagle Mountain, yeah, Eagle Mountain High, the Knights might
Yeah,
be a team that steps up, but it's still all about Boswell.
yeah. Hey,
That being said, I'm taking Legacy.
you brought up an interesting point. Now I'm going to pick your brain. I know we're right in the middle of games here, but if Digsy is wearing the Steve Spurrier visor, and all of a sudden he's the coach, and we're in the new overtime rules here, it's easier to stop 1 2-point conversion than it is to stop 4 downs, right? Is
Right.
that what you're thinking as a coach? So you're just go back and forth until you get to the 2-point conversions, and then you kind of look for that stop. Is that how you would do it as a coach, or would you at some point say, "Man, we're rolling here. Let's go for 2 and just end this thing"? Obviously,
That's exactly why I would not, because you have that you only have one overtime where you have to kick the extra point, and because you go second that you've already got the advantage because now it doesn't matter who goes first or second because it's all about execution in the second overtime because you go first in the second overtime you get your 6 and you get your 2, you can't lose, and
right.
now you just got to stop them at any point. So why would Crowley not want to give themselves that opportunity, kick that extra point, and go and see if you can match them, get your 2-point conversion then in the second
Is
overtime.
that what you would do as
Yeah,
as a coach, as a second in the second overtime? I'm not even talking Crowley or anybody else.
right.
As a second overtime, Is that what you would do? If you
Yes.
went set, you would score and then go for two,
Yes.
and then if you didn't get it, let the other team score and kick the extra point, or would you just go until you got
Well, in
to
the
two
second
point
overtime, you have
conversion?
to go for two. So I
Oh,
mean,
you
first
do. Okay. Well, let
overtime,
me keep
you you
quiet.
you you kick your extra point and you go and you take it to that second overtime. And
Well, let
once
me
you're in
keep
that
quiet
second
then.
overtime, you got to go for two. So I saved my 2 point conversion for that
Yeah,
instead of
I got you.
try to steal a win because there's a much more your team can do. Like you said, you got four. It seems like it's easier to stop 4 plays than one play.
Right.
And that kind of to me, it feels like you can give your defense more opportunity. I mean, all it takes in overtime is a holding penalty or something where all of a sudden you're behind the chains and you're completely messed up as far as in your momentum goes. So I really don't like trying to get a 2 point conversion and trying to steal
Mhm.
one early because the way the game is going to play out, you
Yeah,
still have the same opportunities.
I'm in total agreement. All right, we got that overtime stuff cleared up. Let's go to Anna, Frisco, Emerson. This is Emerson's chance to show that they can beat a good team because they've done what they're supposed to do and beat up these Frisco teams that are not up to their par. Are they anywhere near Anna's par, or are we talking about par, Coach
Are
Par?
they
How
near
about that?
Seth Parr? That's a good question.
Exactly. How about that? Or are we just looking at this one, seeing if they can compete with Lovejoy down the line or whoever they play to maybe get a fourth spot?
Honestly, that's what I'm interested in this game because if Emerson plays Anna kind of the same way that Lovejoy played Anna, okay, all of a sudden maybe
Yeah.
Emerson Lovejoy is kind of a 50-50 game. If Anna beats Emerson kind of like they beat the Frisco schools, it's 49-7 or something. Okay, maybe then there's a little bit of margin for Lovejoy that Lovejoy still has over Emerson to where if that fourth spot, they're probably an 80 to 90% likely to be in that fourth spot, which is what I think it is now. But Emerson can prove that defensively, if they can slow Anna down, maybe it's 50-50 because Lovejoy is just spinning. If Janasek does not have an amazing game, Lovejoy is not winning the game. And we saw that against Melissa. They got 3 turnovers on him, and it was just an absolute blowout, which we predicted here on the show, which I just thought that Melissa, if Anna was 4 scores over Melissa, and then Melissa was a score over Anna, put it together. That's 5 scores over Lovejoy.
Mhm.
So this game I'm looking at for Lovejoy and Emerson because I think those are the only 2 teams that can compete for the fourth playoff spot, fourth versus fifth spot, not 6-7, but 4-5 in the district. You saw what I did there,
6-7.
Wizzy.
This dude,
You
yeah.
saw it. So
He's a
I'm interested in
TikToker.
this game more for Lovejoy than I am for this game, and a big.
Look at this
But
guy
how big?
trying
How
to
big?
draw in the kids with the 6-7 stuff. He's trying to draw in a new audience. Unbelievable. I don't know what it means, but
Clip
he
it,
must
Lord. Clip it.
clip it. Clip a 6-7. Oh, brother. And also they play Lovejoy next week, week 8 on a Thursday, which I don't know if you're free, buddy. I don't know if you're free.
I'm not
Maybe you're
because Plano East plays on Thursday that week.
all right. Well, I'll tell you what happens. All
Okay.
right. Another high scoring affair, or is that what we're looking for here in the SGP against Arlington Lamar? Another Thursday game out in Arlington. They're playing this one at UTA, I believe, Maverick Stadium.
Yeah, Arlington Lamar. I just keep going back to that first week when I gave them, I buried them after losing to Plano West. Plano West is now 5-1.
Right.
So, and that game was 15-14. And so Arlington Lamar was unfairly written off by me. I'll admit when I was wrong with that. So when I was really digging into the stats of this game, this was a game where I was like, Lamar beat South Grand Prairie on just about every checkbox when you kind of go down the list and go, okay, well, let's look at the quarterback here. Quarterback, you got Jaden Shaw versus Dalen Brooks. Well, Jaden Shaw's looked pretty good, and he's got better numbers. Okay. Josiah Lucas is the one side that I feel like South Grand Prairie's got a bit of a check on versus Tyrone Thomas. But on the wide receiver, can you name a South Grand Prairie wide receiver?
I can.
You
Well, yeah.
can.
It can. You can name Wallace,
Well, there you
Cade
go.
Wallace.
You got Wallace, but I mean, he hasn't really done anything he hasn't put up
No,
big
he has
numbers.
been great. Take that back. I'm going to give you a shovel if you talk about Cade Wallace like this. But go ahead.
Camille Pruitt has been great and has actually put up numbers, to kind of indicate that he has been great. That the numbers have been there. He's a fantasy pick. Is Cade Wallace going to be on your fantasy team anytime soon?
We'll see, buddy. We will
We'll
see.
see.
I can't give you these answers.
That's
Otherwise,
true.
you're going to plan for it.
But
so who's winning this game? Talk to me.
But one thing that I feel like Arlington Lamar doesn't have that South Grand Prairie does have that kind of just tilted it for South Grand Prairie is South Grand Prairie not only can generate turnovers, but those turnovers tend to get points really quickly. Like they can, get a pick six on you, a scoop and score. Lamar hasn't shown that they could generate points out of the turnovers. So because South Grand Prairie has that kind of defense that plays very much like these college styles do, where they're going to let you run between the 20s, but man, we'll get a turnover on you in the red zone or something. But they give up 500, 600 yards, except for Timber Creek. Timber Creek was able to avoid the turnovers, and that's why that game was so close. I think that's what makes me trust South Grand Prairie in this battle, that they're going to get those turnovers or two. Turnover or two that Lamar can't. So I think South Grand Prairie wins a 56-49 kind of a game, which I think will be a 56-42 game, but Lamar scores late because they can't really stop each other. Yeah, but they're not going to get that onside kick, and then South Grand Prairie wins by that score.
Well, you've got yourself a wild imagination. He's got it all planned out. You ought to be a book writer. All right, you want to hear a game where I keep absolutely quiet? Here it is, Celeste and Clarksville, because I don't know a lot about either one of the teams, and I know you have a rooting interest in one of them.
But I don't really want to talk about it. But I mean, I just wanted to sing "Last Train to Clarksville." Can we do that with copyright thing?
Are we singing?
Got the last train to Clarksville. They're gonna win. Clarksville over Celeste. Sorry, Celeste.
All right, nice singing. Hey, here's the game that I found out that we're both going to be at. Shockingly. So you get to meet both of us. Are we going to take a picture on the sideline? Probably not. You'll be up in the press box, and you'll never come down. Sulphur Springs and Salona battle undefeated. Sulphur Springs hasn't played a team with a winning record yet. They will now. And this game's at Salona, 7:30 start. Your thoughts here?
Yeah, I like how you noted that was a 7:30 start. You're probably hoping for that 7 o'clock start.
I would like a 7 o'clock start.
When you get to pick any game in the area, it's a little bit flustering, like, where do I want to go? I mean, you got some promotion deals and things you got to fill in for people, so you don't always get to pick from anything. You have to kind of limit it, but I get to pick from anything. And this game ended up being the game I wanted to go, just because I really wanted to see Sulphur Springs. I want to see. I think Salina is a favorite, but is Sulphur Springs closer to Panther Creek? Is Sulphur Springs far away from Salina? Because Salina seems like even going back into their playoff run last year, there were some very close games. There were times where you thought, okay, Salina is going to lose this game, and they found a way. And even early in their non-district, which I think they played a much better non-district than Sulphur Springs did, there were some games that were a little bit closer, a little bit more competitive than I would have liked. Salina is just not that dominant number one team in the state, where like South Lake Carroll, they're just beating everybody by 50 or 60 right now. So I wanted to go watch this game with my own eyes and kind of see how Bo Bentley was going to manage the offense, and if it was going to be close, and how the defense was going to hold against a state-ranked Sulphur Springs team that is, by all accounts, good enough to compete with Salina. But are they good enough to beat Salina and go to Salina and win that game? I don't think so. I think Salina is going to win. But I want to see how they win, because I could see a case where they win by 4 or 5 scores, and okay, Salina is that dominant team. But I could see this being a slugfest, and that could speak well to Sulphur Springs maybe getting back in a rematch, or how they're going to compete against Panther Creek. I need information, Ward, so I got to go check this game out.
You got to check it out. We got some information for a Division I style last week as well, because we had cameras at Liberty Christian against West Plains, and West Plains is obviously everybody's kind of favorite to face off against Salina again, and they got the big lead, but they ended up losing that game. Now, Arlington Liberty Christian, or Argyle Liberty Christian, is a very good private school team, but they have faced a lot of teams that are not, UIL teams, and they lost to them all. They didn't lose to West Plains. Right. So maybe that tells us something too. Maybe West Plains is coming back down to earth.
It's now Stephenville. I mean, we talked about 2 big games last week that I think kind of instruct this 4A Division I and Region 1. Everybody was talking about West Plains. I mean, you even did the story. Yeah. It's the West Plains wall there, and I think it needs to be the Stephenville wall, because Stephenville is undefeated, and they just beat a nationally ranked team by 2 scores. That nationally ranked team has beat Midland Legacy and Longview. And at the same time, you can look at how Argyle Liberty Christian lost to Anna, lost to Texas High. They've lost to UIL teams. They beat West Plains. So I don't think it's going to be West Plains coming in. I think it's Stephenville. And now Stephenville might even beat Salina the way they're playing.
And I think wasn't that the last team that beat Salina? I think it is. All right, we got to figure out 7-6A. I don't think either one of us is picking Jesuit in this one, but we could see how close maybe the rest of the district is to Lake Highlands here by figuring out. We don't even know what really kind of squad Jesuit is. We haven't learned anything from them this year except that they're not really scoring a lot of points.
Yeah, they're not scoring a lot of points against Irving unless you're playing an Irving school, but everybody's scoring points against Irving. So all of a sudden, this past week, they got my Hard Times Award on the dump. Hard times, Daddy, for Irving ISD football, because every single, all three Irving ISD schools lost big last week to Richardson programs. So now all of a sudden, we thought maybe Jesuit was figuring something out. Well, everybody's figuring something out when they're playing the Irving schools, and then they played Pierce, and they looked good like for the first half, but there's nothing in the second half. Lake Highlands should be a big favorite, but Jesuit is going to keep this game close. I think I just, the way they play, they're going to be scheme a certain way that will keep this game close. But I think Lake Highlands is still a 2-score favorite. Now, if all of a sudden this game goes to 5 or 6 scores, woo, Jesuit may be the because they already beat Pierce. I think they're safe in the playoff picture because they have that buffer win. But probably Bertner and Richardson will take it to Jesuit if they can't be competitive with Lake Highlands.
And this one's at Jesuit, so if you're going, make sure you're there super early because there's only about 15 parking spaces there. Otherwise, you're going to park at the McDonald's way down the road and find your way back there. All right, this is our game of the week: Duncanville, DeSoto. You did this podcast probably 3 weeks ago, and we'd be talking nothing but Duncanville, but DeSoto seems to have turned the corner here. They're playing some serious football over there. Talk to me about this one.
There are some adjustment elements that you can look at DeSoto and be excited about. The evolution of Sherrod Baker, who I think by most people would agree that he's the MVP across the state right now because of the way that he stepped in at quarterback. He was kind of slated to be the wide receiver if Myron Cook didn't transfer to Illinois and leave our state. How could anybody leave our state to go to Illinois? I just don't understand that. So, I mean, basically the Swiss Army knife of DeSoto can be a receiver, can be a quarterback, can be running back. And I feel like DeSoto has fed off of that energy, kind of like that play with the Alito play earlier. It's like when you've got that kind of energy into a game, everybody around you gets better because they see their friend Sherrod Baker, who's just giving it all, will do anything. It makes them want to give their all. And DeSoto seems to have built on that energy. And now they kind of figured a spot for Legend Hal. And he's playing complimentary football. And you got, one of the best receivers in the state in Feaster. And all of a sudden DeSoto is looking good, but Duncanville feels like they just haven't had time to make those adjustments because they've only had 3 games. Right. It was DeSoto staying up till 1 o'clock, going to North Crowley, losing those games, losing that game in Georgia early, that they got to find themselves. Duncanville hasn't had that opportunity. I was looking for any reason to pick Duncanville in this game, just because it just feels like Duncanville is like Duncanville DeSoto. Duncanville is like the big brother, DeSoto is the little brother, but every element of the way DeSoto is playing, you just got to stick with them. I think 1-22, Duncanville's got better players, but they're not doing anything. And those coaches haven't had time to make those adjustments that DeSoto has. That being said, maybe this third bye week of the year, maybe they finally figured something out, but we can't see it because they're not playing anybody. So I'm going to go with what my gut says. And my gut says DeSoto is playing better football with lesser talent. And you see that all the time. And I like that, so I'm going to take DeSoto in this game.
And I'm probably going to do the opposite. I'm probably going to take Duncanville in this game.
Why?
I'm taking them because I think their backs are against the wall like DeSoto. I think this is where their backs are. You can't count that Skyline game as a back against the wall game because everybody in this district is beating up on Skyline. I think they're still reeling from 3 weeks ago. And then the next week to see that the same team that they lost to got thumped out by DeSoto, it's making them even more eager. Now they're bringing it to their home crowd. They're healthy now because they got that much-needed third week off. And I think they're ready. They have talented receivers, and I think this is going to happen. I think KJ Ford got a talking to after the stuff he did at the end of the Watts game. He's like, listen, everybody, let's control your emotions and unleash that stuff on the field, not off. I'm going to go Duncanville in this one. So kill me if you want to. How about Eagle Mountain? They beat all these teams that we didn't know a lot about them as a team. Now we do know about them, or we're going to learn something about them if they somehow come out with a win against Brock. But is that going to happen? Diggs, tell us.
No, but it's still a game worth talking about because Eagle Mountain, they lost to Grandview, but they beat Paradise. So it's like they have a quality win. Beating Paradise is just okay. Welcome to the party, Eagle Mountain. We see Coach Mullins. The Snake Farm has come to the Night Factory or whatever we're going to call it over here. But Brock is just playing at a higher level than everybody right now. And Brock kind of, it feels like Alito because they are like big brother, little brother. That's like, Alito North or West or a little bit further west in Parker County. That Brock kind of models himself after Alito. And it's the same kind of mindset that they have. Eagle Mountain's just too new, too young. They don't know what they don't know yet. And I think Brock is going to introduce them to that. Brock, man, they go up to 4A Division II, and they haven't missed a beat. And I don't think Eagle Mountain's going to be the team that's going to trip them up. Brock, big.
How can Richland win this game against Denton Ryan? I don't know if they can, but they've been scoring 7 touchdowns a week the whole season except for Colleyville Heritage. They're not going to score 7 against Denton Ryan. So how do they score as much as they can? Can they even get to 21-28? I mean, this Ryan team, despite the loss, showed that they are just amazing on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, this was one of our feature games last year because, it's like, okay, Richland looks like they figured it out. We got Denton Ryan coming off that loss, going back to last year. How are they going to bounce back from that? I don't think you have quite that intrigue this year because I think Denton Ryan is now just going to be mad and it's just probably going to, bulldoze Richland. But I feel like Richland is one of those teams, kind of like Colleyville Heritage. It's like if you bet against them too much, that's when they're going to come out of nowhere and and do something. Because remember, we bet against them big against Alito last year, and that was one of the top 5 almost for Alito in this 131 game run. So I think Denton Ryan should be able to score at will, and I don't think Richland is going to be able to go score for score with Denton Ryan. But it's one of those games that kind of is going to give us a little bit of insight, Ward, because Richland's probably more like Lone Star and Highland Park than anybody else that they're going to play. So can Denton Ryan shut down a really good offense and be convincing in it, or is Richland going to be able to go score for score, but Denton Ryan is just, got more athletes so they can have a turnover here or turnover there. So I'm going to be looking for the style points, and I think this is going to be instructive into maybe how the state semifinal is going to look with Alito and Denton Ryan. We know they're only 1 point difference there versus the Richland team that, it just shows no defensive signs, but the offense is really, really good for Richland.
Yeah, that's a good point. It is going to show them something that they're going to see in the playoffs. And they'll be able to stop that away for when they actually do face these teams. Name and Forest, Lakeview Centennial. I feel like we've been talking a lot about Lakeview Centennial. They deserve to be talked about, but you look at it in a wide spectrum. They're 2-4. Their 2 wins are against 2 of the doormats in the district. Granted, they lost only by 3 to Saxe, who I saw with my own eyes, and it kind of feels like Saxe, I don't know if it's injuries or what have you, but it almost looked like they've mailed it in, and they only lost by 3 to them. But if they're going to get to the playoffs, they're going to have to they got to show me something here against Name and Forest. They showed me something against Wiley East, and this will be a good calibration game. I got the word right this time. I don't think I said collaboration last time. A good calibration game for when Wiley East has to face Name and Forest. But, man, talk to me about this one because Teddy Ballgame will be out there with his father. He's going to show his father some Texas football.
Stop. Calibrate and listen.
Here we go.
You like what I did there, Wizzy?
Take it.
Throw back to R.L. Turner there. You get a little Vanilla Ice reference there. Name and Forest in Lakeview Centennial. Name and Forest has kind of won my heart over because it is like I keep picking against them. And they keep winning. And they keep winning by coming back and just the way they do it week in and week out. Like they look dead to rights against Rowlett. They get 3 fourth quarter scores to get back in that game. They look dead to right against Garland. They did it. So okay, Wiley looks like they're going to take care of business. No, they just got up big on Wiley and just dominated them. And now you got Lakeview Centennial that you talked about previously with Duncanville. Their backs are against the wall. Lakeview Centennial has to. They got to get a win now because the way you said Saxe is playing really bad and they got a loss to Saxe, so they got to get a win they weren't expected to. It's it's either got to be Naaman Forrest or Wiley at this point. And that's their only chance into the playoffs because they already have the losses to Wiley East and to Saxe. So where are they going to get the wins? But because Naaman Forrest, I love those intangibles, and it's just like, if a team finds a way to week in and week out do it, that's indicative. That's instructive. Unless you're LD Bell, and then if finally your luck runs out. So should we go with their luck is finally going to run out, or should we go that they've learned how to win in the fourth quarter? I like that. It seems like with these players, there's two players that you really focus on with both. And for Lakeview Centennial, it's Dakari Jernigan. He is like 90% of their offense, running the ball, throwing the ball. That's it. You got George Ziegler, who's the guy who's receiving it, but their whole running game is Jernigan. And I feel like if you're a one-man show, Naaman Forrest is going to find a way to shut that down. But Naaman Forrest seems like they're kind of a one-man show as well with Jockey Robinson because they don't got a running game. It's like him and Braylon Deal. That's it. That's all they got. And same thing with Naaman Forrest. It's Jernigan and Ziegler. That's all they got. No running game of any note. But I feel like Naaman Forrest, because they got the deals, they got the big deals going on, they got a little bit more that can shut down Lakeview Centennial. I don't know if Lakeview Centennial is going to be able to shut down Naaman Forrest. So I'm going to finally pick against Lakeview Centennial and go with Naaman Forrest in this one.
Yeah, it's hard to find a better deal than they got going on at Naaman Forrest. So everything must go. Longview and Forney. Longview went into Rockwall, took care of business. Forney put my Royce City boys on the outside looking in. I was happy when I went through the shows and didn't see Royce City get one this week. That's nice, but now Forney's going into Longview. Can they continue that momentum?
Yeah, the five teams now, because Royce City just looks like they're going to be a step below it. And I think, at some level, I kept saying in the dump, this is a team kind of like Princeton that I felt like, needed to, whereas Princeton actually did make those steps. I always kept Royce City at number 6 just because I got to see them beat somebody. And I don't know if they are. I think they're just going to probably lose out, but they're going to be closer. And next year might be the year because they got all those sophomores that you talked about in that great story. True. Was that our Kia story?
That was our Kia inside story, guy.
Inside story, but
get the sponsors.
Yeah, got to definitely. It makes me feel like I just need a nice Whataburger ward to just kind of wash down. I got to take my Kia in through the drive-through at Whataburger.
Oh,
Longview, Forney was down pretty. They're down 19-3 in that game, and they came back. I just don't see it, Ward, with Forney being able to go out to Longview and get a win, especially with that defense. So Longview is going to take care of business. Call up an East Texas TV station. Get that footage over here, Ward.
Get it over here. We got to see it.
Make a deal. Go back to your Naaman Forrest. Get Braylon on the phone. Have him make that deal.
I'm not calling up if it's 41-14. I don't need to see that mess. So keep it close and maybe we'll make a phone call. Lake Ridge and North Crowley, this is 1-2, but how far is 1 from 2? Or how far is 2 from 1?
I got a little bit of business on the Twitter or the X or whatever they're calling it these days because, Hayes Cloutier is back and North Crowley is winning 68-0 again, kind of looking like they did previously. And I just don't buy it yet. I'm not sold on North Crowley being back to where, a state contender at this point, just because we saw what we got to see. And yeah, when you start playing inferior teams, it's going to look good. So I want to see the style points in this game. Maybe I'll be a believer if you can go 68-0 on Lake Ridge or something. I think Lake Ridge is not going to let it be 68-0. I don't think it's going to be a competitive ball game. North Crowley is heads and shoulders. We saw Lake Ridge play North Forney. They're not an elite team. So we know that Lake Ridge is not going to be at that level, but North Crowley can show us they have the tools, they have the pieces. Are they an elite team? And is that quarterback getting healthy? Does that take them to the next level? I don't think so. We see with out-of-state quarterbacks when they come in, you're going to struggle. Jerry Meyer, Hayes Cloutier, the guy from Melissa who moved out. You come in.
The kid that went to Marcus, Cole Wellifer, didn't do all that much at Marcus when he moved in.
So you can have your big numbers out of state, but Texas is just a different mechanism. That's not to say that he is QB1. He won that battle. That they're not a better team without him in there. But I don't think they're back to that top 5 in the area with him. So unless you can prove me wrong. So, prove me wrong, North Crowley. I'm
tell you
taking
what,
you. I'm taking you by at least 5 scores, but I need 10 scores, North
what
Crowley.
the
You
hell?
got to go 70-0 on them to get my attention.
Good grief.
Only winning by
70 to
35
nothing.
is not impressive. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
don't talk to him on Twitter unless you win 70-0.
You win 70-0 or 69. Miss
I
that.
tell you what, Dixie, talking about players, quarterbacks that moved on. I hate the fact that we got to go back to Flower Mound, but watching my Houston highlights of Noah Spinks, it really ripped my heart out because he had Carter Massey at Flower Mound. He's got 4 Carter Masseys over there, and he's just carving up the world. You'll see him if you go to AT&T. You'll see him against Southlake. Why are we talking about that?
Well,
All
look
right,
at Ward calling the Houston.
I called it. I'm calling it.
Them.
It's called. All right, Summit Timberview. If Summit has dreams of the postseason, it happens now to the end. They got 4 of the 5 playoff teams in this district. They got to get a win against one of them, plus Everman. Timberview has proven that they're that's a dog you don't want to poke, or a bear you don't want to poke, a dog you don't want to smack with a newspaper because they will bite.
Multiple calibration issues because we saw Timberview not dominate Seguin. So that lets you know from 2 to 5, 2 to 6 in this district, it is not far off. They're tightly compacted. And I think it's coming down because I think Colleyville Heritage is a step above these teams. I got Colleyville Heritage at 3, and I've got basically the winner of Summit and Seguin as your number 4 team. So how close is Summit to Seguin? Because we saw that Timberview and Seguin was a 1-score game. They call it the backyard brawl. That's just, kind of a rivalry there. Is Summit going to take that next step and be competitive in this game, or is Timberview going to blow them out? And that might let us know that Summit is probably a number 5 team. It seems like the last couple of weeks when Summit was finally able to put up 50 points, that the offense has figured something out. But Timberview should win. But much like these games that we've been talking about, going back to Anna and Emerson and even the Lake Ridge and North Crowley, I want to see the style points. I don't think Summit is at Timberview's level, but can they keep it close? Can they be competitive, or is Timberview just going to blow it out? And if that happens, I think we may see a shovel for Summit. But Summit still controls their own destiny because they can go out and get Colleyville Heritage. They can get Seguin. They have multiple opportunities to where they just need one, as you talked about.
They can, but if they get smacked here, and there's no better time than now when you're rolling in with all kinds of momentum at 5-1, if they are at 4-1, if they get smacked now, it's not going to get any easier. I think they got Argyle the very next week, so we'll see what happens. All right, Kraut Bowl. I feel like you should be there, but it's just too far away, and you won't be back for the Sweet Show Friday night recap. But this is going to be
30 minutes earlier, though. They do believe in the 7 o'clock.
If it was 6:30, boy, I would send you out there. All right, talk to me about this one because if anybody that that's going to watch the warm up tomorrow is going to see some sweet insight here, and he's going to give it to us now on the podcast too.
I'm going to give it to you now, and I'm going to really talk about Pilot Point because to me, the way my brain works is the calibration world, because you are as good as the best team you've beaten. And if the best team you've beaten beats a really good team, then you're as good as that team. And we're talking about 2A Division 2. So we're talking about 3 levels below 3A Division 1. And Lindsay dominated Pilot Point. That game was like 57-28 or something, like beat them by 4 scores. And to me, that's just Pilot Point. They're not very good. Pilot Point is a 4th team in the playoffs. They're going to be playing Life Oak Cliff. That's just not a good team. They're an okay team. They're a playoff team. They won a playoff game last year, but they're not at that elite level. And now you got everybody was telling me Palmer is such a good team. Palmer is a state-ranked team. And Pilot Point just goes and bullies Palmer. Mm-hmm. And it's not like we got some health issues. They got a couple of players back. Lindsay bullied a healthy Pilot Point, who bullied a healthy state-ranked 3A Division 1 team. And then it feels like every year with this district with Munster, Lindsay, and Collinsville, it's that next team up that is there. We thought it was Collinsville, and then Munster came out of nowhere. I think it's Lindsay now that is coming out of nowhere and is going to be the team that surprises us all. And I was watching some footage on Lindsay. Lindsay is big too. So, they're a team that lost in the second round last year, kind of got beat up and got beat up in district. They're 8-4, and use that as the chip on their shoulder, I think they've taken the next step. I think the fact that they were able to bully Pilot Point, who we saw now, they're 5-1. That one is against Lindsay. I think Lindsay is taking the next step. Kraut Bowl, I think Lindsay has a really good chance to win state now. I feel like one of those three teams, Collinsville, Munster, or Lindsay, is your de facto team to win state almost every year if you can get past Albany out in Region 1. Lindsay looks to be that team right now if they can stay healthy. Give me Lindsay. Give me the Knights.
You may have convinced me on this one. My small school Dixie speaks. I got to listen, man. You may have convinced me. All right, Red Oak Joshua. We're talking 7-5A Division 1. I got to see Red Oak last week and talked to Coach Robinson for a while before that game. And I'm thinking, when they play a team that has a good offense, they struggle on defense. But that's not always the case because they played Heritage and they only gave up 11 points. They won that game. Well, that's when they were completely healthy. And apparently their defense has been decimated by injury. It looked like it in Highland Park. They always give a good effort, but the defense doesn't have what it takes. They're taking on a Joshua team here that we discussed earlier when you went on a 20-minute talk about an East Texas team. But can Joshua bounce back and go into Red Oak and get that win?
This game is a true pick'em because Joshua had struggled to score 16 points. They missed an extra point or something in that game against the Tyler team that just gave up 70 to Highland Park. This is a defense that is prime for the picking, and Joshua couldn't do anything. And Red Oak, they lost by 3 scores to Highland Park. And if you calibrate, you go, okay, well, Joshua should bounce back in this game. But when you start to look at the matchups, I just don't feel like Joshua is going to be able to score enough. And I think, can Joshua keep Red Oak to 17 points? Well, yeah, if you can, you're going to win that game. But I don't think Red Oak is going to be kept to 17 points. So I think Red Oak, just because of the styles, Joshua is probably going to be what we consider a computer favorite because of the fact that they beat Midlothian and only lost by 1 to Tyler, that only lost by Highland Park to 4. But this game just has that feeling that Red Oak is going to bounce back. So give me Red Oak. A little bit of an upset.
Give them Red Oak. All right, I'll take it. By the way, Braden Robinson, special. And you look at him live. I know he's.
What about him? What about him?
I know he's almost. Well, the thing is he's small. I don't know what his thing is. They may put him on the roster at 6 foot, but that dude can't be more than 5'9", 5'10". And every play goes to him. It's going to him. And since he's not super tall, they get him on the bubble screen, and he'll shake off 3 or 4 guys. What's great about him is his speed because nobody has that kind of speed. The fact that he stuck around at Red Oak, which is, his dad's a coach, so he's going to stick around. But because I was talking to Coach Robinson, that the poaching is still going on down there. He couldn't stop it the way Chris Ross did when he was down there because that takes a lot of effort to go out to the middle school games and make sure the best players' parents aren't being talked to by the Sox and the DeSotos and the Duncanvilles anymore. He couldn't stop that. But Braden's there to get him the ball 12 times a game. He's going to make 12 great plays. So that's what I have to say about that.
And you said who's going to stop him for Joshua? Who's going to stop him for Joshua? I mean, Joshua is good team football, but I mean, you've got those matchups where I just think Red Oak is going to find a way. This guy get to 21. Get him to 21, they win the game. So that's why I'm going to go with him.
Gotcha. This is a Thursday night special. Midlothian Heritage is starting their spring of playing 2 5-0 teams. They got Crandall next week. Got Terrell coming in at 5-0. We all know what they like to do. They like to run sweeps. They like to bust a run on you left, right. We're going to run the ball. We're the Tigers. I got to see them live, so they can't email me no more saying I don't come out. I was out there, and we're going to be out here this week. It's not going to be me, but somebody will be there.
And Digsy's going to be there.
And Digsy's going to be there. So there. Let the emails come because we're there. But
we are there. Sounds like a tagline I used on another website. It sounds like.
It does sound like that.
We are there.
And then Heritage has got things clicking. They beat a Stephenville team that you almost crowned as state champions in 4A, but that's a 4A team. And they lost to Argyle, but they've got the thing turned around now.
Yeah, but they also beat Texas High, and that's
That's
what kind
true.
of really got my my attention. Yeah, losing to Stephenville, losing to Argyle, that stuff happens. Stephenville's beating everybody in the world. It feels like, but it's like it's a tag team matchup, Ward. I know you like AEW and you like the good old school like the Midnight Express and the Rockers or the Rock and Roll Express. You got on one side, you got Terrell, you got Julian Ashley and Roderick Hambrick Jr., just fantastic running backs. On the other side, you got Zacho Davis and Dax Monteango at
Monteango.
at quarterback over there. And although Montelongo is the quarterback, he is their number 2 running threat other than Davis. And so I feel like it's going to be down to the trenches. It's going to be about the intangibles and the little things. And I think the fact that Midlothian Heritage was able to beat a team like Texas High, Terrell, we hung our hat on the fact that they beat Frisco Heritage the way they did. Frisco Heritage just lost to Sherman, Ward.
Mm-hmm.
They got walked off against Sherman, who I had at the number 9 team.
Yeah.
Now I got Frisco Heritage as my number 9 team. So all of a sudden, that win is a little bit suspect. I just don't think they're going to be able to go to Midlothian Heritage and win that game. Give me Midlothian Heritage to win a 35-28, just a good battle. It's going to be in the 7s. We're not going to be kicking field goals. It's going to be short. It's going to be efficient. But I think Midlothian Heritage just knows how to win these kinds of games.
If they are going to win, Terrell's going to have to be ahead. They don't need to be behind the second half because that was a pretty smart statement, right? If they're going to win, they got to be ahead.
Got to be ahead when that clock hits 0, Ward.
That's not a team that's coming from behind with the style running game they're doing. This is a sweet one because North Forney we know has been beaten up on teams. Probably the best team they're going to face right now is Heath because Forney didn't really have the defense for us, and we saw what they did to Lake Ridge. Talk to me about this one. This one's actually obviously it's caught a lot of people's interest, but it's really caught mine because this is really going to show me if I'm going to sit there and say North Forney's a district title winner.
The problem, we talked about this. We talked about, week 2, and you interviewed Coach Webb, and you asked him this hard hitting question, and then you cut it because you didn't like the response. Was I don't like the fact that Rockwell Heath doesn't have that go to player. They have a lot of players. They have Prosper Neal and Carter Zom and Sean Gary, but they'll run a couple of quarterbacks, 3 or 4 running backs, a couple of receivers. They just don't have that go-to player, and you're like, well, we got to find out who those players are going to be right now. That's what Coach Webb said.
That's what he said. Non-district. That's what it's for.
That's what it's
very reasonable answer.
Very reasonable answer. But Rockwell Heath but North Forney, they've got those guys. It's Legend Bay Show. It's going to be Corday Woodard. And now against Tyler Legacy, we got Eli Otieno going. So I feel like North Forney is in their lane. They're healthy. I don't think Rockwell Heath is going to be able to go blow for blow with North Forney. I just don't think they have the defense, and I don't think North Forney is going to be stopped by Rockwell Heath. I think North Forney has the defense. They're not going to completely shut down Rockwell Heath, but I think they have the defense to slow them down. So I think North Forney will win by 2 or 3 scores. I think North Forney is for real.
Are we rolling to a Halloween night district title game against Longview? And
absolutely,
they got a lot of sweet home games, by the way, too. I don't know how they work their schedule out where they're playing this year. Well, obviously last year they had to play on the road, but this year they're bringing in a lot of competitors at home. So this might be the year of the Falcon. Haven't had a year of the Falcon since Randy Jackson was here that 1 year or 2 years, how many years it was. Oh, gosh, are we down to this time already? We are. High school fantasy football. Boy, oh, boy. That means we're done talking about games, and now we get to talk about just how great Diggs is at picking everything. And I had a decent quarterback going, too. I had a great Thursday night with Trey Wright. I thought things were going good. Then Buck Randall showed up, smacked me in the mouth. Your Life Oak Cliff guys always get me. And my man Brendan Gleam got shut down. I didn't expect only 70 points from Gleam out of the running back position for Melly Bell. That was actually extremely hurtful. I was expecting another 130 out of him, which, as we can tell, with simple addition, still would have left me short.
I know people in Prosper, the athletic director was the Plano athletic director. And they said, you know what, we're going to go score 70, but we're not going to let you have 70 yards. We're going to put it around. Everybody's going to have 70 yards. We're going to have 10 different players have 70 yards. So Lathan, you just got to catch your 4 and get 2 touchdowns and be happy with it today, because
Back down to 2-4. I'm slowly going back to my usual 4-7 record. Usual being
hey,
the only.
we've been having a trend of 2 on, 2 off, 2 on,
Yeah,
2
maybe
off.
this is
So
my time. It is
it's
my
your time
time.
for your run.
All right. Well, this is where it's got to happen. Legend Bay. You just told me they were going to score like 60 against Heath, and if they do, that's because the Legend Bay is going to get all the points for me. But you say Arlington Bowie is going to score 61 because of Bibbs. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, Martin's going to make this a track meet, so I think that it's just going to be a lot of scores. There could be, I see a situation where, for my credit on staying away from North Forney I think that's a great pick, by the way. But there's also they can get their running game going and not throw the ball, and Legend Bay not run the ball, because if you don't want to get your quarterback hit, so I could see a situation where North Forney does well without Legend Bay, but Bowie can't do well without Bibbs. They got to get the ball down the field, and that's how that works against Martin. So it's going to be hard, but I think just like with the Buck Randall and Trey Wright thing, I think I'm just going to have a little bit more than you, Ward, just a little bit more.
We'll see. Running back position, you went with Darius Jones. Excuse me, I forgot the I in there. With Darius Jones, I'm going with Cam Newton. Usually, I'd be nervous about that because they're playing Liberty. That means that it might shut them down. But they don't. Coach Ellison doesn't shut down people. I mean, Hayes Hackney threw 6 touchdowns and 250 against Memorial, and they had 70 points. Plus, Cam could do something on 7 carries that maybe Jones couldn't do on 20.
Yeah, but we got when Darius Jones I got Ennis versus Greenville, and that's pretty much their
They'll shut
offensive.
them down.
That's their offensive output is when Darius Jones. I've been waiting for this because he's been averaging 170 a game, against really good competition. So I've been waiting for this game because I could see 300 coming out of Darius Jones, because they want to feed him. That's what Don Drake loves to do. They want to feed him with 30 runs, just like your guy Sella, who got 30 runs and 300 yards. I think Ennis might feed him, but you're just going to be you're going to have to hope that Cam's 7 carries go for 250. Are they good enough to do that? Absolutely, but I think they could shut him down.
They don't shut people down over there. They go for 70 and beyond. Now, the person you need to worry about being shut down is Jalen Lott against Nevada Community. That guy might be shut down. So who knows what happens here, especially with the backup quarterback in there. And I'm going with Jeremiah Douglas. They want to keep that undefeated record going into Midlothian Heritage next week. They're going to need to put them on them.
But how are you going to develop chemistry with your backup quarterback if you don't?
You don't need to. Graylin will be back.
Quarterback play.
Graylin will be back eventually.
Talk a little bit about Jalen Lott's interview this week, because he got to be on.
I got to have the whole Lott family. So I spent most of my time with Mr. and Mrs. Lott, both at University of Texas legends in various sports. Obviously, his dad was a huge track star over there at Texas. The kid's great, man. He knows about all the other best receivers out there, keeping tabs on them. He knows his rival was Salina, even though Coach Surratt says, I think we need to win a couple times before we can call him a rival. And he likes the fact that he got to see what is his name? Schramm. Schramm is their backup. Tristan Schramm get in there and play some. But he also is telling me that Graylin's coming back soon. He'll get that thing back and get it going, get it cranking. But Jalen Lott, let's see. He may be waving a little bit on Oregon too, fans out there. I don't know. I don't know for sure, but he may.
Breaking news right there. Ward, you're gonna get clipped and get put on college Twitter with those kind of comments.
I won't get clipped. I will never get clipped. I don't say anything interesting enough. Why? But you say he's going to stick for the whole game, even though we're going to get against the community.
I think they'll pull him after the third quarter, but I think he'll still get 8 for 150. And as we see with these wide receivers, it's hard to consistently get the 150, 200, 250 like the running backs and quarterbacks do. So I think because he's such a big play threat, having that against community, if he even gets 4 balls, he might get 200 out of that, because once he catches it, who on community is going to stop him?
Nobody. That's a good point. I came close to picking Donovan Webb for that same reason, but I just thought it would, especially for the guys that play 2 ways. It's just, there's no sense in just keeping them on offense the whole time. Let them play just one one position. But we'll see. Hopefully next time we come on here, I'll be 3-4, that much closer to getting back at Diggs. Diggs only gets better as the season goes on, as we see in this other pick'em nonsense. Dang it. All right, Diggs, we got week 7 coming up next week.
It's because of calibration, Ward.
Calibration, not collaboration.
Stop. Calibrate and listen.
Oh, brother. No more singing. We're promising for week 8 we're not having singing next week. Is that good?
We have Plano East bye week this week. It is a party. We are now 1-5 and still control our own destiny for the playoffs. Coach B, you're doing it, my friend. And he's got his Cubs in the playoffs. I don't know if the Cubs will still be in the playoffs by the time this airs, but at least as of now,
that's true.
They're playing baseball. That's all I can do. I can only say what's happening when I take it.
Yeah, well, Coach B's got his Bears playing the Commanders next Monday night. Doesn't look good for the guy. All right, I'll talk to you next week, buddy boy. See you later.